Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm sharing how to make this 2-in-1 Nigerian soup, which is the ogbono and okro soup. This soup is kids friendly. If you have toddlers that you want to introduce swallow to, this soup will help because it slides down the throat even before you know it. Also, there are several ways to make this soup, but then you'll never go wrong with this method I'm going to share with you today. So if you're interested, sit back, relax. It's a cook with me video, so let's do this. So here are the list of ingredients. I'm going to list them as well in the description box area. For the vegetable, I'm using kale. If you can lay your hands on ugu, that is pumpkin leaf, please use that. But if you cannot, use kale or spinach. I prefer to use kale because I think it's closest to our ugu texture, so that's why I like to use it. So this is what it looks like. Over here I have the ogbono, also known as bush mango. In my local dialect we call it ugili. Yes, it's a kind of fruit. We eat it and then get this ogbono from the seed of that bush mango. Yes, so because it is sold in an open area in the market, what I do is when I buy them like this, I clean them up with paper towel to get rid of any dust that may be on it. So this is it. I'm going to grind it in a powdered form before using it. Over here I have the okro. Of course, we're making ogbono and okro, and one way to detect if your okro is still fresh is to break it up just like this. If it breaks up easily from the tip, you know it is fresh, but if it gives you any hard time, you know it's not that fresh. I have some palm oil, just enough to color the soup, some crayfish and ogiri. I'm using 2 of these because I want it to be really pungent in the soup. I get a lot of questions about people asking if they can use iru in place of ogiri. Yes, you can. For the proteins, I have beef, goat meat, omo, and some onions to cook the meat. I'm also going to use some seasoning cubes, salt, and some mackerel fish, which I'm going to smoke. You can also use it like this if you don't mind. And I have some fresh pepper. So now we have seen all the ingredients, it is time for us to cook. So to begin, I'm going to clean the fish, open the belly, and bring out all the yama yama, that's all the intestine. Yeah, if you have not been using smoked mackerel fish to cook your ogbono soup, okra soup, or any draw soup, I don't really know what planet you're operating from. Except you don't like it, no problem. But if you didn't know, please start using it. You are going to love it. It gives it one unique kind of taste. So just before I put it in the oven, I'll place a tray underneath the rack so it can hold the drippings, place the fish on it, and then into the oven it goes. I'm going to set my oven to 475 degrees Fahrenheit and then let it go for the first 20 minutes before I flip it. But then just before I close the door, I placed a foil on top of the fish so that my oven is not that messed up. So while that is in the oven, I'll go ahead and start cooking the meat. I'm going to cook all the meat together except the cow skin because that one have been pre-cooked already. It's quite soft. I'll add it later. The beef is also going to get cooked before the goat meat, so I'll cook everything together by the way and then take it out when the beef is cooked and then continue cooking the goat meat. So now I'm going to chop up the onion and add it into the pot as well. I'll add some Maggi cubes and some salt and then let it steam cook in its own juice for about 15 minutes before adding water. This is going to make our meat to be tastier. So while that is on fire, I'm going to go ahead and wash the okra with some salt and water, and then just get it ready for slicing. You know, it's a cook with me video, so when I'm cooking one thing, I'm prepping the other thing. This is also going to help save time in the kitchen instead of waiting for one thing to be done before continuing with the next. Meanwhile, have you heard that okra is a fruit, not a vegetable? My dear, that's what they talk. Oh, they say okra is a fruit, not a vegetable. But some of us are going to keep calling this thing vegetable titilai, and nothing will happen. Yes, so after washing it, I'm going to start chopping them up. This is how I like to chop the okra. Just go and then roughly chop it up to my desired size, or you can just, you know, cut it straight and another line across it and chop. Whichever way you like, just chop it up. You can also grate it if you prefer. I also like to grate it too, but for today I'm going to be slicing it like this. I want to say a very big thank you to all my subscribers. You guys are the best. If you're yet to subscribe, please click on the red subscribe button and hit the notification bell as well, so you'll be among the first to know anytime I upload a new video. The meat have been steaming for 15 minutes now. You can see all the juice that came out on its own. At this point, I did not add any water. So now I'm going to add a little bit of water, cover, and continue cooking. I'm also going to add the cow skin now, so that by the time I'm taking out the beef, I'll take out the cow skin as well. Like I said, the cow skin was already pre-cooked, but I just wanted it to infuse its flavor inside this stock. So I'm going to add it now. Next, I'm going to wash the crayfish before grinding it together with the pepper and ogiri. I always like to buy this kind of crayfish. See, I saw, was it on Instagram? Yes, I saw on Instagram one time Chioma Apota saw snake inside her crayfish. I'm like, thank God, I hardly will buy grinded crayfish. I'll always buy this kind of crayfish so that I'll pick it myself, wash it myself, and see what I'm eating. So if you can, do the same. So I'm going to grind it together now and set it aside. You can also blend this with a blender, but when I have very little things like this to grind, I'm like bringing out a whole blender for just these two things. I'll just use this or a small mortar if you have it. So once I finish grinding, I'll put it in a bowl and rinse it out with some water so that nothing goes to waste. At this point, the beef is almost cooked, so I'm going to take it out, including the cow skin. Remember, I'm still going to add it into the soup later, so it will have some more time to cook through. The goat meat is still hard, so I'm going to add a little more water and then let it cook for another 10 minutes. Fish is ready now. I'm going to quickly debone it and set it aside. You guys, this fish was hot, so please be careful. If you can smoke the fish earlier before you start cooking that day or the previous night, that's going to be perfect. It's also going to save you some time. Even though I didn't feel like we wasted time, did we? No, we're cooking the meat, we're slicing the okra, we're doing other things, so it's a win-win. Whichever way is fine. And you guys, the bone of this fish is pure bliss. Very delicious. I always will just chew on it and be happy. Next, I'll grind the ogbono with a dry mill and place it in a bowl. So at this point I check on the goat meat and it's about 80% cooked as well, so I'm going to scoop it out. Now I'm going to pour this meat stock in a bowl and use another pot to start the whole cooking process. If I was going to be cooking with this pot, I'll just add a little more water and just continue cooking, but then doing it this way has its own advantage as well because of all these tiny bones. You don't want to mistakenly eat it in your when you're swallowing your eba. So one more thing I had to prep was the vegetable. I'm going to pluck it off the stem. You can add the stem if you want, but for me I just think the stem is too hard, so I like to take it out. Once I do that, I'll add water, add some salt, rinse it out really well. You don't want any sand in your soup, so rinse it out really well. Do it multiple times if you have to, and then slice it. Everything is prepped now, so let's make this magic happen. In a clean pot, I'm going to add the meat stock and enough water for the soup. The quantity of water you should add depends on the amount of ogbono you're making. Check the description box area. I'll leave the exact amount of the ogbono and water that I'm using for this soup. Next, I'll pour in the blended pepper, crayfish and ogiri blend. Cover it up and then bring it to a boil. To dissolve the ogbono, I'll add some oil into the grounded ogbono and then mix it up thoroughly until it is properly combined. I'm going to place it inside the pot of boiling water, but please make sure you're using a heat resistant plate. There are so many ways to dissolve ogbono, but this is how I'm going to do this for this method of ogbono soup. So just before I place the plate into the pot, I'm going to add all the meat back into the pot and add the deboned fish as well. I like to add the fish early so it can start to, release all its flavors inside the stock. Now I'll place the bowl into the pot just like this, gently. If you don't want to do it this way, you can cover the pot and place the bowl on the cover. The heat will also dissolve it, but it's going to dissolve faster when it's inside the pot of soup, so I'm going to just leave it there. You can also do this in a microwave. Okay, so yeah. So after 10 minutes, the ogbono is melted now, but if for any reason you still feel you have lumps in there, don't worry, it will melt inside the pot when it enters the hot water. So now I'm going to taste for salt and seasoning. I thought I needed a little more salt and seasoning, so I added one more seasoning cube and a bit of salt. I had to melt it in because I tried breaking it. It won't let me. These days you have to be very powerful for you to be able to break Maggi cube. So I've melted that in there. I'll add just a teeny weeny amount of salt as well before pouring in the melted ogbono. So you guys, I didn't know I didn't press record, but don't worry, you didn't miss anything. The only thing I did was pouring the melted ogbono into the pot. So once I pour that in, I don't stir. I'm going to just leave it to cook for the first 10 minutes undisturbed. Minutes later, I go in and give it a really good mix. At this point, everything have dissolved, so I'm going to stir and then let it cook for another 7 minutes extra. If you want your ogbono soup to come out really delicious, you want to give it enough time to cook. That is, after pouring in the melted ogbono, you want to cook it between 15 to 20 minutes so it can be really delicious. So this is me stirring again after the extra 7 minutes, and at this point I'm going to now add the okra. Once I add the okra, I mix it in. I go in and add the vegetable as well. That's the kale that we sliced up earlier. I just add it at the same time with the okra, so the okra don't overcook. So once I add the vegetable, I mix it again together and then let it cook for another 1 or 2 minutes. With the vegetable, you can add as much as you want. You can add plenty if you want, but me, I don't like it so much. I just like to see that there is vegetable in the soup. I can actually do without vegetable in the soup, but hey, I'm going to add a little. So once I add that, like I said, I just let it cook for another 1 or 2 minutes and I take it off the heat. It's been 2 minutes now. I'm going to take it off the heat, and you guys, our soup is ready. The only disadvantage of this soup is you will just be eating and eating and eating without control. Yes, it is that good. It just glides down easily. I like to have it with eba because the soup is slimy, the eba is kind of rough, so you know, it's a perfect balance. If you have toddlers that you're trying to introduce swallow to, this is the perfect soup for them. They are going to enjoy it. So yes guys, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Thank you all so much. If you watched this video to this point, this eba is for you. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, I'll see you guys in my next video. If you're new, please don't forget to subscribe before you leave. Turn your notification bell on and please help me click the like button. Share this video to your friends and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.